Today we're doing it for the kids. You know in your bathroom when you have a faucet and you have a little munchkin that can't get to the sink. You know what I'm talking about. They do that little struggle and try and get up. They need about 10 inches of extra room, I figure. And I got thinking, okay, so what could we put under their feet? And I thought, that looks awfully familiar. Yes, of course. And they can stand on top like this cool guy. We were already using this utility box that was kind of weak, rough edges, and it ain't doing so well right now. It's pretty darn near 10 inches, and we need to start taking this thing apart. So let the demo commence. And after that fun stuff, we are left with some pretty good sideboards with handles, so I don't need to do any routing. And yeah, they're the length that we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and cut 3 more pieces to complete our box shape for the kiddos to stand on. And after we're done cutting, we've got these 3 pieces. It's always good to do a really rough setup to make sure that you're on the right track. In this case, we were looking pretty good. Now we have to get the wood together. Get some carpenter's glue and make sure you apply it to the edges of the wood. We're then going to get some finishing nails and then pre-drill, always pre-drill because wood likes to crack, and then hammer time. I think it's important to show your screw-ups too, and one of the nails was too close to the edge, so the piece fell off. Don't give up, just put some glue on it, put a vice grip on it, and yeah, it's going to be all good. Now these vice clamps help out a lot, and you want to make sure that you get all of the edges as seamless as possible, because those little kitties' feet are soft and you don't want to get them caught on anything. So use your own touch, because that's the way that you know that's going to be nice and smooth. So now this is the last piece that we're putting in, and I did a little sample check to make sure it was still snug, and then put a whole bunch of glue on it, and then plunked it in place. And the fact that I had to do this meant that it was a really snug fit, which is exactly what I was going for. So now make sure you vice clamp it really well so that glue has a chance to grab on. And then we're going to make sure it's super level, and then after it dries, seal it with some more finishing nails. Now that we've got the basic shape in place, I want to make sure that it feels like something you bought at the store. So we spend a lot of time using this orbital sander and getting it really, really smooth. I then go by hand and use a rough sander and then a fine 220 sander to get that super nice polish. And then I'm doing something weird here to try to get the nails flush with the wood, which sort of worked. Now to make sure that the wood sat perfectly flat on the floor, I got to break out my wood planer, which I very rarely do, and got it to sit really, really evenly. So we got our structure in place, and now it's time to prime it and get it ready for the paint. Did a couple coats of primer, and then after it dried, I sanded it down so that it's extra smooth. Ready for paint time. Now I love drawing, and I wanted to make the question mark, but I just couldn't get it right. So my brother had a really smart idea, just print it. So sometimes the easier ways are the best. Put it in the center, tape it down, and then it serves as a mask that you can paint around and then peel off to get that effect. You'll notice me here painting white, and that's just to make sure that the question mark was as white as possible and not the dull white that the primer had. You'll then see finishing touches to just make sure that it looks perfect, because you'll notice that some paint goes underneath the mask. This is another technique to just speed up the drying. And you'll notice that as I take off the masking paper, some of it stays on. So you have to clean it up with a knife to take off the extra newspaper and then touch it up with a small brush. So here we are doing that. Lastly, we want to add a little bit of depth to the question mark. So we used more masking tape and got this result. The final touch on these faces are these little rivets in each corner. And I just like to add some shading to give it some depth. We then put some clear water-based finish on it to make sure that it's easy to clean and extra smooth. And the grand reveal went quite well. The kids could reach the controls pretty easily, and it also is a tribute to their favorite games that they like to play.